your concept of anterior pelvic tilt is very likely outdated, and this is probably why you're not getting results fixing your posture. You see, most people think anterior pelvic tilt is caused by tight hip flexors, a tight low back, a weak core, and weak glutes. And while that idea does have some degree of truth behind it, taking an approach that tries to fix that particular problem by addressing the muscles is a symptom-based approach. And this is why people don't actually get long-term results, because they're not addressing the true root cause of why those muscles are tight in the first place. I ask this question all the time in my videos and content. Why are those muscles tight in the first place? So many people say I have tight this, that, or the other thing, but they don't actually ask, why is that thing tight? And in the case of anterior pelvic tilt, the reason why this is primarily happening is because the body's center of gravity is being pushed forward in space, at least particularly at the pelvis. When the body's center of gravity moves forward, this is what pushes our weight relatively forward onto our foot. This is why a lot of people with anterior pelvic tilt tend to have lower foot arches, because what that does is it pushes our weight forward, which is going to collapse our feet down closer to the floor. This is one of several reasons. If this is helping you understand anterior pelvic tilt and posture in a new way, or in a way you haven't really considered before, it would mean a lot to me in the channel if you could like, but also subscribe, because I release new videos like this every single week. Now that we have that understanding, we should ask, well, why does the body's center of gravity even get pushed forward in the first place? What causes that whole thing to be set in motion? And the reason is that there is initially a lack of internal rotation mobility at the hips. It's important to understand that internal rotation, or the bone rotating in like this in the hip socket, this is how we produce force under a large variety of circumstances. Internal rotation is pushing down. External rotation is generally more associated with absorbing force. Not always, but it's just a common theme. And we can produce internal rotation at our hips in two different ways. We can internally rotate by the femur moving on the pelvis, or the pelvis moving on the femur like this. Or what we can do is we can tilt the whole pelvis forward like this. And this causes the femur to go back in the hip socket, but it also pushes the entire pelvis forward as a whole unit, as opposed to getting that sort of more relative motion of internal rotation. So what we can do if we lack this internal rotation genuinely is we can just push the whole pelvis forward. This is going to help us point our hip sockets down at the ground too, to help us propel forward, because all humans are trying to do two things. We're trying to survive and move forward in space. And for whatever reason, whether it's injury, lifestyle, hobbies, training, etc., we've lost the ability and the movement variability to genuinely produce that internal rotation. So the body dumps the whole pelvis forward in this sort of relatively permanent state, so that way it can produce that internal rotation as needed. Now, this isn't inherently a problem, and I want to make this very clear. Anterior pelvic tilt does not mean that you're automatically going to have pain or a ton of dysfunction. The overwhelming majority of the population has anterior pelvic tilt. But here's the question we got to ask. Is your anterior pelvic tilt causing you to have certain restrictions or limitations in range of motion that are relevant for you and important for you? If, for example, you're stuck in this anterior pelvic tilt position, your body needs to access a lot of external rotation for whatever demands are placed on your body, your lifestyle, hobbies, etc., then you might have some sort of a compromised strategy to access that external rotation. Because if you're pitched forward like this, it's going to be hard for you to externally rotate. So you may end up using more of a spinal strategy to move your pelvis out of the way, so that way you can actually externally rotate. And this could put a lot of stress on your low back, and it's the thing that's primarily moving your pelvis all the time. This is just one example, but I want you to know that a ton of people have anterior pelvic tilt and have no problems whatsoever. Just because you have it doesn't mean you need to fix it, but it can be associated with certain limitations. So you may be asking now, well, what is the solution? Well, the solution is to teach our body how to shift our center of gravity back. Because what's going on is the center of gravity is being pitched forward within the pelvis. So what we need to do is shift it back. But here's the other thing. Remember, the true underlying cause is a lack of genuine ability to access internal rotation. So we want to shift the pelvis back, but then restore genuine internal rotation capabilities. And then the body doesn't have a reason in the first place to go forward, because it doesn't need to compensate to find something it doesn't have. But if you want a more specific and individualized guide, I recommend you check out my No BS guide to anterior pelvic tilt. This program has an assessment built within it, so you can identify what type type of anterior pelvic tilt you have, because there are two different ones. They're generally the same themes of what I talked about in this video, but there are variations of it. It will also give you simple and easy exercises that are progressed over multiple phases and weeks of the program that will help you restore the things that we need to in order to address what's going on within your posture. So check it out down below in the description for more. But if you want the most thorough possible approach, I strongly recommend you check out my Own Your Body course. This course is designed for literally the average person with no previous knowledge of anything having to do with the human body. And I'll teach you how to understand your own issues and fix them at the true root cause. It's a 4-week course, and it will be really in-depth in a way that will be helpful but not overwhelming. Viewers of this video get an exclusive 50% off, so you can get that down below in the description. Here are 2 exercises I recommend you do in this specific order. One to help shift the center of gravity back, the other to restore more genuine internal rotation at the hips. This exercise will help us restore more genuine internal rotation mobility at our hips. We want to lay on our side so that way the top crest of the pelvis bone is resting on this foam roller, not musculature, but the bone itself. And you'll know it when you're there. It's going to feel like pressure against a bone, not necessarily tissue. So I like to start here and then roll slowly up my body until the point where I get that secure feeling of that top side of the crest of my pelvis on that right there on the foam roller. I want this knee bent at about a 90-degree angle. I always want to feel the outside of my ankle and outer knee right here flat on the ground the entire exercise. Now I'm going to bend this knee a little bit more and then stack my other foot on top of it like this. Here's the key. I'm going to inhale through my nose and very slowly rotate both my chest and upper leg right here at the same time, going here, stopping at the point where if I were to go any further, I'd be ever so slightly tempted to lift this knee off of the ground. This knee has to stay flat, so don't go too far. Then very gently and extremely slowly, painfully slowly, go forward, folding your chest down and this leg down at the same time. Stopping at the point where if you were to go any further, you'd lose significant pressure on the side top crest of that pelvis. If you can, you want to get this top knee a little bit ahead of the bottom knee. If you can't, that's not that big of a deal. Don't push yourself too hard. And then you're going to open up very slowly again. So you're essentially just riding that pelvic crest, feeling pressure go into that. And you don't really want to go onto tissue or anywhere else other than that top ridge. You want to make sure you're very relaxed, exhaling down like this through your mouth, or through your nose, whatever's comfortable. And then once you start going back up again, you're gonna inhale through your nose. It should be extremely slowly, extremely relaxed. If it feels too uncomfortable to get this knee at about 90 degrees relative to your trunk, then you can, under some circumstances, lower it just a little bit like this, and this could be more helpful. But only go here if you feel like you need to, and being up here is less comfortable. Just always make sure this outside knee stays flat at all times. This is gonna help us shift our center of gravity back. So what we're gonna do is grab a foam roller or something about the width of this. You're gonna place it in your upper thighs, just enough, and the object should be this size because it's gonna allow your knees to stay in line with your toes and also your hips. So take 1 foot length away from the wall like that and get your feet hip width apart. Place that thing in your mid to upper thighs-ish region. And now here's the key. You gotta feel the right foot contacts. So you wanna feel your heels about 50% of your weight, maybe about 60% evenly on both sides. But you also wanna feel the base of your big toe and the base of your little toe. Not the actual toes themselves, those should be completely relaxed, but right where the ball of your foot is, right at those 2 points right there, evenly on both sides. About 40-ish% of your weight is evenly distributed there. Now make sure your feet and toes are completely relaxed, but you have your weight in those foot contacts. You're not pushing them into the floor, you're just sensing them as they're present. And then you're going to keep your back flat against the wall comfortably. And then you're going to just bend your knees very slowly until you can first start to feel these 2 points of contact on the back of your upper pelvis, your PSIS contacts. These are the absolute key for this exercise because it's going to allow you to make sure that you're perfectly stacked, you're bringing your pelvis back a little bit, but you're not rounding and crunching too much like that. So once you feel those contacts on the wall very gently, even just like a 2 or 3 out of 10, that's perfect. You don't want to go down into a wall squat. You just want to feel them comfortably against the wall. It's going to be a little bit different for everyone. And then all you're going to do is keeping your eyes straight ahead. You're going to just do this with your hands or this, whatever is comfortable. And then you're just gonna reach your elbows away from your body, not letting your back come with you. Because what this is gonna do is this is gonna separate the space in between your shoulder blades and spine. This is called protraction of the shoulders. Make sure you're not shrugging, it's just an extremely gentle 2 out of 10 reach like this. And then you're gonna exhale through your mouth for about 5 to 10 seconds, and you're gonna pause at the end of that exhale, because what you're gonna feel at the end of the exhale is a little bit of your side abs, not your six pack, but your side abs engaging. You're gonna hold that very gently as you inhale through your nose, keeping your neck and back relaxed, and you're gonna feel your back rib cage open up with air a little bit. It's so gentle, guys. This is not at all intense. So to summarize, what I want you to feel is those 3 points of contact evenly spread on both sides, but your foot is really relaxed. And then you're gonna feel those PSIS contacts on the wall, very gentle reach, and then just breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Extremely chill, keeping no tension in your body. The question is how little tension can I do this exercise with in my body the entire time? I recommend doing both of these exercises in the order that they're presented. And I would recommend doing them for about 2 sets of 8 to 10 slow breath cycles. And I would recommend doing that both in the morning and at night if possible. You should see some instantaneous success addressing what's going on within your posture, but those things will stick longer and longer the more consistently you do this. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.